Mediterranean or Caribbean? Which MSC itinerary should you pick? Choosing between an MSC cruise in the Mediterranean or the Caribbean sounds simple until you actually try to book one. Both itineraries promise beautiful beaches, incredible cities, warm weather, and modern MSC ships. But once you start reading reviews, you'll notice something surprising. Many passengers who absolutely loved their Caribbean cruise said they'd never book the Mediterranean again. Meanwhile, others called the Mediterranean the greatest vacation of their lives and found the Caribbean almost repetitive. So who's right? The truth is that these two itineraries deliver completely different experiences, even when you're sailing on nearly identical ships, and choosing the wrong one can leave you wishing you'd booked somewhere else. In this video, we'll compare the Mediterranean and Caribbean based on thousands of passenger reviews, Reddit discussions, and real MSC guest experiences. So by the end, you'll know exactly which itinerary matches your travel style. One mistake many first-time MSC cruisers make is assuming the ship is the vacation. In reality, your itinerary changes almost everything. It determines how much you'll walk, how much you'll spend, how relaxing your vacation feels, and even how much you'll enjoy the ship itself. Passengers are often surprised that they can sail on nearly identical MSC ships, but come home with completely different opinions depending on whether they cruise the Caribbean or the Mediterranean. That's because these itineraries were designed for different kinds of travelers. The Caribbean is centered around relaxation. The Mediterranean is centered around exploration. Neither is objectively better. The better choice depends entirely on what kind of vacation you're hoping to have. Let's start with what passengers notice almost immediately. If you board an MSC cruise in the Caribbean, especially from Miami or Port Canaveral, you'll find a very familiar atmosphere. English is spoken almost everywhere. The entertainment is heavily geared toward North American guests. The dining schedule feels familiar, and the entire experience is designed to help you unwind. Many passengers describe Caribbean sailings as easy. You unpack once, you wake up near another tropical island, spend the day on a beach, come back on board, watch a show, repeat. Mediterranean cruises feel very different. Your cruise becomes a fast-paced journey through history. Instead of beaches every day, you're visiting cities that have existed for thousands of years. Rome, Barcelona, Marseille, Naples, Athens, Valletta. Each port almost feels like an entirely separate vacation. Passengers frequently say they return home feeling like they've traveled across multiple countries in just 1 week, but they also admit something else. They're exhausted. This is where the biggest difference begins. In the Caribbean, most ports are relatively simple. Walk off the ship, find a beach, visit local shops, take a snorkeling excursion, maybe ride a catamaran, then head back to the ship. There's usually less pressure to see everything. If you miss one beach, another beautiful one is waiting tomorrow. Mediterranean ports are the complete opposite. Many of the world's most famous landmarks aren't actually located next to the cruise terminal. For example, if your itinerary says Rome, you'll actually dock in Civitavecchia, which is roughly an hour away by train or bus. When your itinerary says Florence, you're usually docking in Livorno. Want to see Pisa too? Now you're trying to fit two world-famous cities into a single day. Passengers on Reddit and Cruise Critic often say Mediterranean cruises require planning long before embarkation. You'll need to research transportation, understand local train schedules, book excursions early, and carefully watch the clock. Miss the ship in the Caribbean, and you've probably missed a beach day. Miss the ship in the Mediterranean, and you could find yourself stranded in another country. That's why experienced MSC cruisers often describe the Mediterranean as incredibly rewarding, but far less forgiving. This is where your personal travel style becomes the deciding factor. If your dream vacation involves crystal clear water, soft sand, and spending the afternoon with a frozen drink in your hand, the Caribbean is hard to beat. Many MSC Caribbean itineraries include stops at destinations like Cozumel, Ocean Key, MSC Marine Reserve, Nassau, Puerto Plata, or Costa Maya. Even though each island has its own personality, the overall rhythm is consistent. Warm weather, beaches, water activities, and a slower pace. Passengers often describe Caribbean cruises as vacations where they actually return home feeling rested. The Mediterranean offers something entirely different. Instead of asking, which beach should we visit? You're asking, should we spend more time at the Colosseum or the Vatican? One day you might be exploring ancient Roman ruins. The next, you're wandering through the narrow streets of Barcelona's Gothic quarter. Then you're standing beneath the Acropolis in Athens. or enjoying fresh seafood along the waterfront in Valletta. Many experienced travelers say a Mediterranean cruise feels like taking several European city breaks in one trip, but there's a catch. Because each port is packed with things to see, many passengers admit they barely scratch the surface before it's time to head back to the ship. It's common to walk well over 20,000 steps in a single day. If sightseeing energizes you, that's part of the fun. If you're hoping to relax, it can quickly become overwhelming. Even when you're sailing on the same MSC ship, the itinerary changes how much time you actually spend enjoying it. Caribbean cruises typically include more sea days and shorter excursions. That means passengers have more opportunities to experience everything the ship offers, whether that's lounging by the pool, enjoying specialty restaurants, watching theater productions, relaxing at the spa, or simply exploring different lounges. It's one reason many guests say they feel they got more value from the ship itself. Mediterranean itineraries are much more port-intensive. On many sailings, you'll wake up in a new destination almost every morning. Ships often arrive early and depart in the evening, encouraging guests to maximize their time ashore. That means many passengers leave the ship shortly after breakfast and don't return until late afternoon or early evening. Several experienced MSC cruisers mention that they barely had time to enjoy the pools, water slides, or other onboard attractions because they were focused on exploring each destination. Ironically, some guests finish their Mediterranean cruise realizing they spent thousands of dollars on one of MSC's newest ships, but experienced only a fraction of what it had to offer. Food is another area where opinions often split. On Caribbean cruises, many passengers are perfectly happy eating most of their meals on board. Since the ports are often centered around beaches or shorter excursions, it's easy to return to the ship for lunch or enjoy the included dining options before heading back out. Ocean Key is a great example. Because it's MSC's private island, many of the ship's dining services are available right on the island, making it convenient to spend the day without worrying about finding local restaurants. In the Mediterranean, however, many travelers intentionally skip lunch on board. Why? Because every port offers the chance to experience local cuisine that's often considered part of the destination itself. Passengers frequently rave about grabbing authentic pizza in Naples, tapas in Barcelona, fresh pasta in Italy, seafood in Greece, or local pastries from neighborhood cafes they stumbled upon during their walk. For many travelers, these meals become some of the most memorable moments of the entire cruise. The trade-off, of course, is cost. Dining ashore regularly can add hundreds of dollars to your vacation budget, especially if you're traveling as a family. One of the biggest surprises for first-time Mediterranean cruisers is how quickly excursion costs add up. Many iconic attractions are located well away from the cruise ports, meaning transportation alone can become a significant expense. Guided tours to Rome, Florence, Pompeii, or the Acropolis often cost considerably more than the beach-focused excursions commonly found in the Caribbean. Some experienced travelers save money by using trains or local transportation instead of booking through the cruise line, but that approach requires careful planning and comes with the responsibility of making it back to the ship on time. Caribbean excursions tend to be simpler and often less expensive. Whether it's snorkeling, ziplining, dolphin encounters, or beach clubs, the logistics are generally more straightforward, and travel times are usually shorter. Passengers who prefer a stress-free vacation often say this simplicity is one of the Caribbean's biggest advantages. Weather is another factor that frequently appears in passenger reviews. The Caribbean generally delivers the warm, tropical climate most people imagine when booking a cruise. Sunshine, swimming, and beach days are often the highlight, although hurricane season, which typically runs from June through November, can sometimes lead to itinerary changes or rougher seas. The Mediterranean offers greater seasonal variety. Spring and fall are often praised for comfortable temperatures that are ideal for sightseeing, while midsummer can bring intense heat, especially in ports like Rome, Athens, and Naples. Walking through historic cities under the afternoon sun can be far more demanding than many first-time visitors expect. Passengers also note that sea conditions in the Mediterranean can occasionally be rough, particularly during shoulder seasons, although experiences vary from sailing to sailing. By this point, the choice is starting to become clear. If your perfect vacation is built around slowing down, enjoying the ship, and spending your days by the water, one itinerary clearly has the advantage. But if you've always dreamed of standing in places you've only seen in history books, and don't mind trading relaxation for unforgettable experiences, the other begins to look much more appealing. So, which itinerary gives you more for your money? The answer depends on what you value most. If you measure value by how much time you spend enjoying the ship you've paid for, the Caribbean often comes out ahead. Many MSC guests say they had plenty of time to experience the pools, Broadway-style shows, specialty restaurants, live music, spa, and nightlife. With more sea days and shorter excursions, you actually get to enjoy the ship as part of the vacation, not just your transportation between destinations. The Mediterranean is different. Here, much of the value comes from what's waiting beyond the gangway. You're not just visiting ports, you're stepping into cities that have shaped history, art, architecture, and culture for centuries. For many travelers, seeing landmarks like the Colosseum, the Sagrada Familia, or the Acropolis is worth every extra step and every euro spent on transportation. But there's another side to that equation. Many passengers say their Mediterranean cruise ended up costing significantly more than they expected. Between train tickets, guided tours, museum admissions, meals ashore, and souvenirs from multiple countries, expenses can climb quickly. Caribbean cruises, by comparison, are often easier to budget for. If you're happy spending the day at the beach or relaxing on Ocean Key, you can enjoy a memorable vacation without paying for an excursion at every stop. So while the base cruise fare may be similar, the total cost of your trip can be very different depending on the itinerary you choose. Reading through passenger reviews reveals an interesting pattern. People rarely regret choosing the Caribbean because they wanted more relaxation. Instead, some wish they had booked a longer sailing because they didn't want the vacation to end. Mediterranean cruisers, on the other hand, often mention a different kind of regret. Many say there simply wasn't enough time. They wished they had more hours in each city. They wished they had stayed in Rome for 2 days instead of a few hours. They wished they had explored Barcelona before or after the cruise instead of rushing through it. Some even recommend arriving a few days early or extending your vacation afterward to experience embarkation cities properly. Another common regret is trying to do too much. It's tempting to schedule an excursion in every port, but several experienced cruisers say they underestimated how physically demanding that would be. After several consecutive days of walking through historic cities, climbing hills, navigating train stations, and standing in museum lines, exhaustion starts to catch up. On the other hand, Caribbean cruisers sometimes mention the opposite. They occasionally skipped a port because they were enjoying the ship so much that they simply stayed on board and enjoyed the quieter atmosphere while everyone else went ashore. That flexibility is much easier to enjoy on a Caribbean itinerary than on a Mediterranean one, where every port often feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Based on passenger experiences, the Caribbean is the better choice if you want a relaxing vacation more than a sightseeing trip. You enjoy beaches, swimming, snorkeling, or simply soaking up the sun. You want plenty of time to enjoy everything your MSC ship has to offer. You're cruising with younger children who may not enjoy full days of walking through historic cities. You're a first-time cruiser looking for an easy, low-stress introduction to cruising. You prefer simpler logistics with fewer transportation decisions and less planning before your trip. Many guests describe Caribbean sailings as the kind of vacation where you return home feeling refreshed rather than needing another vacation to recover. The Mediterranean is likely the better fit if you love history, architecture, museums, and cultural experiences. You're excited to visit several countries in a single vacation. You don't mind waking up early for excursions. You're comfortable walking long distances and keeping a busy schedule. You're willing to spend extra on transportation and guided tours to make the most of each destination. You see the ship as a comfortable hotel that moves you from one incredible city to the next. Many experienced travelers say the Mediterranean delivers memories that stay with them for years, not because of the ship, but because of the destinations themselves. If your dream vacation is built around discovery rather than downtime, this itinerary offers an experience that's difficult to match anywhere else. So, Mediterranean or Caribbean? If your goal is to relax, enjoy tropical scenery, maximize your time on board, and keep your vacation as stress-free as possible, the Caribbean is probably the better choice. But if you've always dreamed of walking through ancient cities, experiencing different cultures, and checking world-famous landmarks off your bucket list, the Mediterranean offers an adventure that's hard to replicate. In the end, this isn't really about choosing the better itinerary. It's about choosing the vacation you'll enjoy the most. Some cruisers eventually discover that the perfect solution isn't choosing one over the other. It's sailing both, because each offers something the other simply can't. And if you're planning your next MSC cruise, you won't want to miss our next video. Will MSC World Atlantic be even better than World America? We'll break down everything we know so far about MSC's newest world-class ship, compare it with World America, and explore the upgrades, features, and changes that could make it MSC's most impressive ship yet. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy cruising!